Hi, welcome back. Tracy from Nature's Heart. Today we're going to talk about oracle cards, what they are and how I work with them. And this stems from a recent Instagram post where I shared my newest oracle card, The Rooted Woman by Sharon Blackie, illustrated by Hannah Willow. And I asked if people wanted a little bit more information about how I work with oracle cards, and the answer was yes. So here we are. What I'd like to share, first of all, is that most of us who work with divination tools like oracle cards have our own way of working with them. And so what I'm sharing today is by no means the way. It's the way that I choose to work with them, and it's what works for me in my practice. And if you speak with other people who have similar practices, they may work with oracle cards in completely different ways. So the invitation really is to find your own way of working with these beautiful cards. So oracle cards to me are, they're like a portal, and they help us connect with the other world. And in the other world, we have guides and benevolent helpers. And they help us when we connect with them through the deck of cards. We're able to get messages that we may not be able to see in this world. It's almost like it opens our eyes in the other world and allows us to get information that is usually unconscious. So the interesting thing about our unconscious is that it works in symbols. So oracle cards are very symbolic, and the illustrations are important because they include a lot of the symbolisms, either directly in signs or in colors or in the placement of the images in the particular illustration. And all of that speaks to our unconscious and gives us that information that we may be seeking, or the guidance that we may be seeking. So that's a little bit, very high level, surface level, of what oracle cards are to me. And the way that I work with them is in a daily practice. Actually, it's a daily practice that I give myself permission to not do every day. That might resonate with some of you. I find that it's really important for me to not be too rigid in this, and to allow it to flow and to pull cards when I feel drawn to pulling cards. It's not something that I said I have to do every day. So for me, it's a practice I do usually in the morning, and it's part of my journaling practice, which usually happens in the morning and usually happens every day, but not always. Sometimes life happens, as we know. And it's really important for me to give myself permission to flow with whatever's happening in that moment. So important thing is to clear ourselves, clear our own energy, and to clear the space. And that can be as simple or as involved as you choose. For me, I usually do some kind of smoke clearing. I like to use lavender or rosemary, and I light that, or incense works too, and use the smoke to cleanse the energy of my body. And then I also do that for my space. And I usually light a candle, because to me that sets the intention of, now I'm entering into this sacred space and I'm working in this sacred space. And it kind of creates that liminality. And it's that liminality that allows our unconscious to open up through the cards. So once I've done that, once I've cleared myself and my space, and I've kind of centered into myself, I set an intention, or I formulate the question. So what is it that I'm wanting to know at this time? Maybe I'll ask a question about who is my ally, or what do I need to know at this time, or where am I in my journey? Or I ask something as open-ended as, show me what I need to know right now. I'm really careful. I don't like using yes and no questions, because I don't find them as helpful. So I like to use what we referred to in my ESL teaching days as WH questions. So who, what, where, when, why. When, not so much, but what and who and where. In terms of, if I'm on a journey, where am I and what point am I at? So those are some ideas about questions. Normally, I find if I center into myself, the question comes up. Sometimes I will do some journaling first, and that helps the question to come up. So that might be something that you feel drawn to. So then once I've formulated the question, I center into myself, either through breath work or whatever mode you find that helps you get centered into yourself. And then I shuffle the cards. And I'm shuffling the cards with this question in my mind. I might speak it out loud. I might just say it in my inner voice. And then I pause when I feel drawn, and I stop and I choose the card. And I usually choose the card with my non-dominant hand. I find I'm right-handed, so the left hand is, for me, is feminine, and working in the liminal space for me is very feminine. So that's how I choose the card. I've heard people say you need to divide the cards into piles and then put the piles back together, and really that's a personal practice to me. That's a personal practice. I pause when I feel that the question has been answered and the cards have been moved enough and the answer is ready, and I select the card that way. And then I stop and I look at the card. And sometimes I journal about the card, what's in it for me. I look at the symbolism. I look at all of the imagery in the card. And then I feel, what does it feel like? What is it bringing up for me? Are there thoughts? Are there feelings? And this is where I journal. And I do all of this before I look at the book. Sometimes I don't even look at the book. But I'm always, I don't like to use the word always, but I really, really like to journal before I read what the author has, the information that the author has about the card. So that's my practice. I blow out my candle, signaling that this time is complete, and I will go on about my day. It's interesting if you have a practice like this in the morning. It's interesting to see how the card can inform things that happen through the day. And it may be something to consider writing again at the end of the day if that card brought you some clarity or gave you more information as you continued through the day. So thanks so much for watching. You'll find me online at naturesheart.ca. You can also find me on Instagram at AromaFairy. Be sure to check out my other YouTube videos, and you can subscribe, and then you won't miss any as they come up. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.